In the crystalline spires of the Galactic Concordat's central hub, Ambassador Reena Patel stood before the assembled alien delegation, her traditional Indian sari a stark contrast to the biomechanical suits of the Zethuri representatives. Her voice carried across the chamber with practiced diplomacy as she presented Earth's latest technological contributions, innovations in sustainable energy and medical research. Behind her pleasant smile lay a secret that would reshape the galaxy's future. While humanity shared their advances in civilian technology, deep within the shadows of unexplored space, Admiral James Sullivan oversaw humanity's hidden fleet. The massive shipyards of Operation Sentinel stretched across an entire solar system, cloaked by experimental quantum fields and protected by the most sophisticated security systems ever devised. Status report, Sullivan commanded, his weathered face illuminated by holographic displays aboard the command station Hyperion. Commander Dmitry Volkov, his second-in-command, brought up the latest intelligence briefings. The swarm's movements match our predictions, Admiral. Their scout ships are probing deeper into Concordat space, just as the ancient records warned. Within months, they'll discover that the barrier is weakening. The barrier, an ancient energy field that had contained the swarm for millennia, was failing. The various species of the Concordat dismissed the old stories as myths, but humanity had recognized the truth hidden in Earth's oldest legends. Tales of ancient celestial warriors and gods who fought against darkness weren't just stories. They were warnings. Dr. Naomi Okoro, Earth's leading xenorchaeologist, had pieced together the evidence from ruins scattered across a dozen worlds. The swarm isn't just another hostile species, she had reported to the Earth Defense Council. They're living weapons, created for a war so ancient that even their makers are forgotten. And now the cage is breaking. In the depths of the hidden shipyards, Chief Engineer Hassan Rahman supervised the final modifications to humanity's secret weapons. The quantum drives that powered the civilian ships shared with the Concordat were mere shadows of what humanity had actually developed. Every breakthrough they shared was carefully calculated to maintain their facade of a young, developing species. The phase cannons are ready for final testing, Rahman reported, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. The swarm's adaptive shielding won't be able to counter these. They work on principles even we barely understand. Aboard the prototype warship Nemesis, Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka ran combat drills with her crew. Their ship didn't officially exist, nor did the other vessels of humanity's shadow fleet. While the Concordat saw humans as peaceful traders and explorers, these crews trained relentlessly for the coming storm. Multiple targets, extreme range. Tanaka barked. Her weapons officers responded instantly, their enhanced reflexes guided by neural interfaces far beyond anything humanity admitted to possessing. The simulation ended with another perfect score. In her private quarters aboard the Hyperion, Admiral Sullivan reviewed the latest reports from Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Network. The swarm's activities were accelerating. Their hive ships were gathering, preparing for an outbreak that would devastate the unprepared Concordat. How much longer should we maintain this charade? Volkov asked during their evening briefing. The Concordat's defenses are inadequate. When the swarm breaks free, billions will die before we can respond. Sullivan's response was heavy with the weight of command. We maintain the facade until the last possible moment. If we reveal ourselves too soon, we risk panic and political chaos. The Concordat must face the threat united, not fractured by fear of humanity's hidden strength. As if to underscore his words, a priority alert flashed across their screens. Another swarm scout ship had been detected, closer to Concordat space than ever before. The ancient barrier was failing faster than predicted. In the crystalline council chambers, Ambassador Patel continued her diplomatic dance, all while knowing that humanity's greatest test approached. The species that thought they had welcomed a young, peaceful race of explorers would soon discover that humanity had been preparing for war all along, not out of aggression, but out of the understanding that peace must sometimes be defended with overwhelming force. The silent watchers of humanity stood ready, waiting for the moment when the masks would fall away, and the galaxy would learn why the ancient record spoke of heroes who fought against the darkness of space itself. The storm was coming, and humanity would not be found wanting. The ancient barrier shattered like crystal in a supernova, its quantum fields collapsing in a cascade of ethereal light that rippled across 1,000 light years. In the Concordat's emergency council chamber, the alien representatives watched in horror as their long-range sensors detected the first wave of swarm ships pouring through the breach. Ambassador Paddle stood silent as the Zethari Supreme Commander Turul demanded answers. Your species claimed expertise in quantum mechanics. Why didn't your scientists detect this weakness in the barrier? Before she could respond, the chamber's holographic displays erupted with new alerts. The swarm's biomechanical ships were advancing faster than anyone had predicted, their living metal forms adapting and evolving as they consumed everything in their path. Deep within the hidden system that housed Operation Sentinel, Admiral Sullivan received the signal he had dreaded for decades. All ships, battle stations, his voice rang through the quantum comm network. Operation Thunderbreak is now in effect. The massive doors of humanity's secret shipyards opened for the first time, revealing vessels that defied the known laws of physics. The Nemesis led the fleet, its dark hull absorbing light like a mobile shadow. Behind it came dozens of warships, each incorporating technology that humanity had carefully kept hidden from their alien allies. Lieutenant Tanaka stood at her weapons station aboard the Nemesis, her neural interface humming with combat data. Phase cannons charged, Admiral. All systems show green. In the Concordat chamber, Ambassador Patil finally removed her diplomatic mask. The barrier's failure was not unexpected, she announced, her voice carrying a new authority that made even the eldest Zethari pause. Humanity has been preparing for this moment since we first discovered the truth about the swarm. The chamber erupted in chaos as humanity's hidden fleet dropped their quantum cloaks within view of the Concordat sensors. Chief Engineer Raman's modifications had worked perfectly. The ships appeared like avenging angels, their advanced weapons already targeting the approaching swarm vessels. We are not the naive species you believed us to be, Patel continued. We are the descendants of those who helped build the barrier eons ago. Our ancestors fought the swarm and sealed them away. Now we stand ready to face them again. Dr. Okoro's research had revealed the full truth. Humanity's ancient ancestors had been part of a coalition that imprisoned the swarm, using technology so advanced it appeared magical. That knowledge had been hidden in Earth's myths and legends, waiting for humanity to rediscover their heritage. Commander Volkov coordinated the fleet's deployment from the Hyperion's tactical center. The swarm's first wave encountered something they had never faced before, an enemy that had spent generations preparing specifically to fight them. Multiple swarm high ships detected, Tanaka reported, her enhanced senses processing battlefield data faster than any normal human could. They're attempting to adapt to our phase cannon frequency. That's why we gave each cannon its own quantum signature. Raman's voice came through the comm. They can't adapt to what they can't predict. The battle erupted across space, humanity's hidden fleet engaging the swarm with devastating efficiency. The phase cannons tore through the living metal of the swarm ships, their quantum-shifted beams impossible to defend against. But the swarm's numbers were vast, and they learned with every encounter. In the Concordat chamber, the alien representatives watched in awe as humanity revealed their true nature. The peaceful traders and explorers had been a carefully crafted illusion. In reality, they were warriors who had spent generations preparing for this very moment. We kept our true strength hidden, not out of deception, Paddle explained to the stunned council, but because we knew the swarm had infiltrators everywhere. If they had learned of our preparations, all would have been lost before the battle began. Admiral Sullivan watched from the Hyperion's bridge as the first phase of the battle unfolded. The swarm's advance had been halted, but this was just the beginning. Their main force was still emerging from the barrier's remains, and even humanity's advanced technology would be tested to its limits in the coming conflict. "Send word to Earth," he commanded. "Tell them to activate the Prometheus Protocol. We're going to need everything we've developed if we're going to survive what's coming." As the orders were relayed, humanity's hidden fleet engaged the enemy that had haunted their ancestral memories for millennia. The time for secrets was over. Now was the time for humanity to show the galaxy why their ancestors had been remembered as gods of war. The Prometheus Protocol activated across Earth's hidden military installations, awakening weapons and defenses that had been centuries in the making. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, massive particle accelerators powered up. In orbital stations disguised as research facilities, quantum computers processed combat data at impossible speeds. Aboard the Nemesis, Lieutenant Tanaka received the first wave of enhanced targeting data. The neural interface merged with her consciousness, expanding her awareness across the battlefield. "Multiple signatures detected," she reported. "The swarm is adapting faster than our simulations predicted." The massive high ships had begun spawning smaller attack craft, each one learning from the destruction of its predecessors. The living metal of their hulls shifted and changed, trying to counter the phase cannon's quantum frequencies. Chief Engineer Raman's voice crackled over the quantum comm. "They're using some kind of collective quantum entanglement. Each destroyed ship is feeding data back to the hive mind." His hands flew across his console, making real-time adjustments to the weapon systems. But they can't adapt to what they don't understand. Dr. Okoro's research team had discovered references to this ability in the ancient texts. The swarm wasn't just a collection of biomechanical ships. It was a single vast intelligence, constantly evolving and adapting. But humanity had prepared for this. "Initiate Protocol Hydra." Admiral Sullivan commanded from the Hyperion. Commander Volkov relayed the orders to the fleet. The phase cannons began cycling through randomly generated quantum states, making it impossible for the swarm to develop effective countermeasures. In the Concordat chamber, Ambassador Patel coordinated with the alien species, many of whom were still reeling from the revelation of humanity's true nature. "We need your ships to fall back and protect your core worlds," she instructed. "Let our fleet handle the main swarm force." The Zethuri Supreme Commander Tural objected. "You expect us to cower while humans fight our battles. We are warriors too." "This isn't about pride," Patel responded firmly. "Your ships lack the necessary defenses. The swarm will consume them and use their mass to create more attack craft. That's why we kept our true technology hidden, to prevent the enemy from studying our capabilities until the crucial moment." The battle expanded across multiple star systems as the swarm launched simultaneous attacks. But humanity's hidden fleet was ready. The Nemesis led a battle group through the chaos, its advanced sensors detecting patterns in the swarm's movements that would have been invisible to normal systems. Lieutenant Tanaka's enhanced awareness spotted a vulnerability. "The high ships are coordinating through quantum channels. If we can disrupt their communication..." "That's why we built the quantum disruptors," Raman interjected. "But we'll only get one shot before they adapt." Admiral Sullivan studied the tactical displays, decades of preparation leading to this moment. "Commander Volkov, coordinate with all battle groups. When I give the signal, every ship fires their disruptors simultaneously." The swarm pressed their attack, their numbers seemingly endless. But humanity had planned for this war since they first discovered the truth about their heritage. Each ship, each weapon, each tactic had been designed specifically to counter the swarm's advantages. Dr. Okoro's voice came through on a secure channel. "Admiral, we've decoded more of the ancient data. The swarm's primary consciousness exists in a quantum state across all their ships. If we can force them to remain in a single configuration long enough, we can target their collective mind directly," Sullivan finished. "Raman, reconfigure the phase cannons. All ships, prepare for synchronized strike on my mark." The battle reached its crescendo as humanity's fleet executed their carefully planned strategy. The quantum disruptors fired simultaneously, creating a cascade of energy that forced the swarm's ships into a fixed state. In that moment of vulnerability, The phase cannon struck. The effect was devastating. Swarm ships began to fall into disarray as their quantum connection was severed. The hive mind's control wavered, and for the first time in the battle, the enemy showed signs of confusion. But victory was far from assured. Even as individual ships lost their connection to the collective, the swarm's primary hive ships remained operational. And they were learning, adapting, evolving new defenses even as their forces were being decimated. They're concentrating their remaining ships, Tanaka reported, her enhanced senses detecting the shift in enemy behavior. The hive mind is sacrificing its outer forces to protect something in the center of their formation. Admiral Sullivan leaned forward in his command chair, recognition dawning in his eyes. They're not protecting something, he realized. They're gathering mass for a transformation. All ships, fall back. They're about to show us why our ancestors feared them enough to imprison them behind the barrier. As the human fleet regrouped, the swarm's remaining ships began to merge, their living metal flowing together into something new and terrifying. The true battle was about to begin, and humanity would need every weapon, every strategy, and every advantage they had spent generations preparing. The merged swarm ships towered in space like a metallic leviathan, its surface rippling with living energy. The combined mass of thousands of vessels had formed into a single entity that dwarfed even the largest human warships. Dr. Okoro's translations of the ancient texts now made terrible sense. This was the swarm's true form, the nightmare that had haunted humanity's oldest stories. All sensors to maximum, Admiral Sullivan ordered, his voice steady despite the unprecedented threat before them. Raman, what are we looking at? The chief engineer's analysis came through quickly, his tone grim. The merged form is generating quantum fields we've never seen before. They're not just combining their mass, they're creating new physics. Lieutenant Tanaka's enhanced senses reeled from the readings. Through her neural interface, she could feel the enormous power emanating from the entity. Multiple energy signatures detected. It's like it's trying to rewrite the laws of reality around itself. The massive entity began to move, its motion defying conventional physics. Space itself seemed to bend around it as it advanced toward the human fleet. The phase cannons fired, but their beams were absorbed into the creature's living metal without effect. Ambassador, Sullivan called through the quantum comm to Patil in the Concordat chamber. It's time for the Lazarus Protocol. Get everyone to the designated safe zones. Patil's voice was resolute as she addressed the alien council. All species must evacuate immediately to the coordinates being transmitted. What happens next will reshape the fabric of space-time itself. Commander Volkov coordinated the fleet's defensive formation as the entity approached. Admiral, the Prometheus satellites are in position. But if we activate them... I know the cost, Sullivan interrupted. But this is what we prepared for. This is why we hid our true strength for so long. The Prometheus Protocol had been humanity's ultimate contingency plan. Hidden throughout human space were thousands of quantum devices, each one capable of manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe. Together, they could create a weapon of unimaginable power, but using it would change everything. Dr. Okoro's voice came through urgently. Admiral, I've completed the final translations. The Ancient Ones didn't just imprison the swarm. They sacrificed an entire galaxy to do it. The barrier was powered by the converted mass of countless stars. And now we'll do the same, Sullivan said quietly. But this time, we'll make sure it's permanent. The entity lashed out with tentacles of living metal, each strike carrying enough force to shatter planets. The human fleet danced through the attacks, their advanced drives pushing the limits of possible acceleration. But they couldn't dodge forever. Nemesis has taken damage, Tanaka reported as one tendril grazed their shields. Hull integrity at 60%. Raman's voice cut through the chaos. The quantum matrix is ready, Admiral. But sir, there's no going back from this. The changes to space-time will be permanent. Sullivan looked at the tactical display, watching as the entity continued its relentless advance. Their weapons were useless against its merged form. Their defenses couldn't withstand its power. There was only one option left. All ships, execute Protocol Omega, he commanded. Synchronize your quantum cores with the Prometheus network. Across human space, thousands of hidden devices activated simultaneously. The fabric of reality began to vibrate as the quantum matrix came online. Every ship in the human fleet added their power to the growing distortion. The entity sensed the danger too late. It tried to retreat, its massive form beginning to break apart, but the quantum field was already taking hold. Space itself began to fold around it, creating a prison not of energy or matter, but of altered physics. Neural interfaces at maximum, Tanaka called out. Her consciousness expanded to its limits as she helped coordinate the fleet's efforts. The strain was enormous. Human minds were never meant to perceive reality at this level. Quantum field reaching critical mass, Raman reported, his instruments showing readings that should have been impossible. Reality distortion spreading. The entity thrashed in its new cage, its power useless against laws of physics that no longer operated normally. The human fleet maintained their positions, each ship acting as an anchor point for the quantum matrix. "It's working," Volkov announced, watching as the massive creature was slowly compressed by the altered space around it. The entity is being forced into a singular state. But victory would come at a terrible price. The changes they were making to the fabric of reality would be permanent, affecting human space for millennia to come. The laws of physics themselves would be forever altered in this region of space. Admiral Sullivan watched as the entity was finally contained, trapped in a bubble of altered reality from which there could be no escape. They had succeeded where their ancestors had failed. They hadn't just imprisoned the swarm, they had changed the very nature of space to make its existence impossible. As the quantum matrix stabilized, the full impact of what they had done began to sink in. They had won, but the galaxy would never be the same. In the space around them, stars shone with slightly different colors. Light moved in strange ways, and the very constants of nature had been subtly shifted. "Send word to Earth," Sullivan ordered quietly. Tell them the price is paid. The swarm is finished, but we'll be learning to live with the consequences for generations to come." In the months following the swarm's defeat, the galaxy struggled to adapt to its new reality. The region of space affected by the Prometheus Protocol had become known as the Shattered Zone, a vast expanse where the laws of physics operated differently than anywhere else in the known universe. Ambassador Paddle stood before the Concordat Council once again, but this time there were no pretenses, no diplomatic masks to maintain. The chamber itself had changed, its crystalline architecture now refracting light in strange new ways due to the altered physics of local space. "The transformation is stable," she reported to the assembled representatives. "The quantum barriers we created will hold forever. The swarm cannot exist in a universe that operates under these new laws." In orbit above the Council world, Lieutenant Tanaka supervised the installation of new navigation beacons. Standard faster-than-light travel had become impossible in the Shattered Zone. Ships needed special, quantum-synchronized drives just to maintain their existence in the altered space-time. "Another merchant convoy ready for escort," she reported to the Nemesis's bridge. Her neural interface had been permanently changed by exposure to the quantum matrix, giving her perceptions that stretched beyond normal human limits. She wasn't alone. All the enhanced crew members who had participated in the final battle had been transformed. Chief Engineer Raman had established a new research facility on the edge of the Shattered Zone. The altered physics had opened up possibilities that no one had ever imagined. "Every law we thought was fundamental has become negotiable," he explained to visiting scientists from across the galaxy. "We've gained the power to reshape reality itself, but we're still learning the responsibilities that come with it." Dr. Okoro's archaeological team had gained a new understanding of the ancient texts. "Our ancestors didn't fail when they created the barrier," she revealed during a briefing with Admiral Sullivan. "They were playing a longer game. They knew humanity would eventually rediscover its heritage and finish what they started. Commander Volkov oversaw the integration of human technology with other species. The pretense of being a young, developing civilization was gone. Now humanity had to help their allies adapt to the new reality they had created. The quantum drives are stable, but they require careful calibration, he explained to a group of Zethuri engineers. One mistake in the calculations and your ship could phase out of our universe entirely. Admiral Sullivan stood on the observation deck of the Hyperion, watching the strange new patterns of starlight through the quantum distortions. The victory had changed everything. Not just the physics of space, but the very nature of humanity's role in the galaxy. We were never meant to be just another spacefaring species, he mused to Paddle during a private meeting. Our ancestors left us a legacy greater than we imagined. They didn't just give us the tools to fight the swarm. They gave us the power to reshape the universe itself. The Concordat had changed too. The revelation of humanity's true nature and the dramatic transformation of space itself had forced every species to reevaluate their place in the cosmos. The old political structures were evolving into something new, something that acknowledged humanity not just as equals, but as guardians of reality itself. The quantum matrix requires constant monitoring, Raman reported during a council session. We've essentially become caretakers of the laws of physics in this region of space. It's a responsibility we'll have to bear for generations to come. Lieutenant Tanaka found herself training a new generation of neural interface pilots. The altered physics of the shattered zone demanded new ways of thinking, new ways of perceiving reality. We're not just flying ships anymore, she told her students. We're learning to navigate through laws of nature that we wrote ourselves. The human fleet had changed its role from hidden defenders to open guardians. The Nemesis and its sister ships patrolled the boundaries of the shattered zone, ensuring that the quantum barriers remained stable and helping those who needed to traverse the altered space. Dr. Okoro continued to uncover more secrets from the ancient texts, but now she shared them openly with scientists from all species. Our ancestors knew this day would come, she explained. They knew we would have to choose between preserving the universe as it was and creating a new one where our enemies could never exist. In the end, humanity had done more than win a war. They had reshaped reality itself to ensure peace. The price had been high, but the result was a galaxy forever changed, forever protected from the horrors that had once threatened to consume everything. As Admiral Sullivan watched the strange new stars twinkle through the quantum distortions, he knew that this was not an ending, but a beginning. Humanity had emerged from hiding to become something unprecedented, not just warriors or guardians, but shapers of reality itself. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity would lead the way into this brave new universe they had created.